What's up, Kipsters? Today we start our new unit on the executive branch of government. The executive branch, everybody say executive branch. Everybody say executive branch. Great, we're going to talk about the executive, but before we do that, we want to make sure that we understand what the other branches of government are and what in the world is he talking about when he says branches. If you have Miss Gilmore, you already know this stuff for the most part. But if you didn't, then listen even more closely. If you did, this is a good refresher for you. And I thank her so much for teaching you guys those basics. So remember, we talked about the fact that federalism divides power between the state, national, and local governments. So the national government is over the entire country. States control their own borders. Also, the local governments control within their borders. Now, power is also divided linearly. Everybody say that one, linearly. So what happens is that not only do you have from top to bottom, national all the way down to local, but you also have power divided at the national level and at the state level. And that's divided between three branches of government. You see, the founders were really worried. And by the founders, I mean the people who started this country were really worried about the idea that a national government could become so powerful that there would be a king or a dictator who would control everything. Because what was happening in England was that the king was basically saying, like, y'all have to do things my way. You can't worship the gods that you want to worship. You can't live your lives free from my control. I'm going to tell you how to live your lives. And so they didn't want a really powerful executive. And that's why our president really doesn't have all that much power. So I think one thing that a lot of students get confused about is they think the president can just be like, I want there to be free food for everyone, and then it's just done. And that's not true. The president has a few powers, and we're going to get into that more deeply, but the legislature and the judiciary both check that power. Separation of powers, everybody say separation of powers. Great. Separation of powers is the concept that we're going to be learning about today. We also want to understand that there are checks and balances. Everybody say checks and balances. Great. Basically what that means is that the branches of government have ways to check each other. So if the president does something that's really whack, the legislature can check him and be like, easy now. Or if the legislature does something really whack, the judiciary can be like, no you didn't. So remember this, that one branch of government isn't supposed to have more power than the other. There are three branches: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. The judiciary branch, the executive branch, and the legislative branch. JEL, J-E-L. Judiciary, say judiciary. Executive, say executive. And legislature, say legislature. Now everybody start chanting. Joe, 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 Joe. The judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. The judiciary interprets the laws. The executive enforces the laws. And the legislature makes the laws. You're going to kill it today. Love y'all.